Massive political crisis affecting the Maharashtra government, with the senior Maharashtra minister, the top Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde, in a hotel in Surat, the Meridian Hotel, with, it's believed, 22 other MLAs. This represents a huge crisis for the party, with questions being raised on whether the MVA alliance in Maharashtra will survive. It needs to be mentioned at this juncture, there is not any immediate threat. The numbers over there perhaps don't pose an immediate crisis, but is the BJP involved, as it has been in other states, for example Madhya Pradesh or Karnataka, in trying to ensure that there is a switch? Remember, the BJP felt they had the numbers a couple of years ago after the elections, and then ultimately it was Sharad Pawar who stitched together the Maharashtra alliance, the BJP all along has consistently wanted to somehow or the other come back into power in Maharashtra. At the moment, the Shiv Sena's Milind Narvekar is presently meeting Eknath Shinde in Surat. That's the latest news. Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, the Maharashtra Chief Minister, did hold an emergency meeting this afternoon, but apparently not very many leaders were present. He did, however, remove Eknath Shinde as Chief Whip, an important party post, perhaps the message being that this sort of dissidence would not be accepted, but at the same time they are trying to reach out to him. Those talks now taking place in Surat. For his part, Mr. Shinde has edited his Twitter bio, removing the reference of his Shiv Sena role. Uddhav Thackeray is also meeting at the said Shiv Sena Bhavan. He held this meeting at about 4 p.m. where there were about 30 to 35 MLAs who were present. Ajit Pawar scheduled to meet Uddhav Thackeray as well. Earlier today, the state BJP chief Chandrakant Patil said, "It's too early to say anything. We're currently waiting and keeping an eye on the situation." So that's where things presently stand. Is there an immediate threat to the Maharashtra government? Some would suggest that that's not the case, with 2021 not really being the numbers required to pull down the government. There is also the anti-defection law, which means that an immediate switchover or a crossover to the BJP is something which may not take place. That said, if Eknath Shinde, along with the support of the BJP, are to reach out to more members of the alliance, whether it's more Shiv Sena leaders or perhaps leaders of the Congress, then this rather precarious situation could in fact become worse. My colleague Saurabh Gupta joins us for the very latest. Saurabh, the talks taking place now in Surat with senior leaders or associates of the Chief Minister having arrived to meet Eknath Shinde. Do we have any word about what's happening there?
Well, yes, Milind Narvekar, the Chief Minister's emissary, and also Ravindra Phatak, a close aide of Eknath Shinde also, and also, of course, the Shiv Sena leader is also meeting Eknath Shinde there to try and convince him to change his mind. Meanwhile, here in Mumbai at the Chief Minister's residence, you have a top meeting of the top government officials here. The Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar is expected. Chhagan Bhujbal from the NCP, who many years ago had quit the Shiv Sena, also has just gone in there. Dilip Valse Patil, the State's Home Minister from the NCP, also arriving at Varsha for that meeting. And this is, of course, the Maharashtra government which is meeting to see how to, address this crisis that the government is facing. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister, of course, will be meeting the NCP Chief Sharad Pawar at around 8 once he arrives here in Mumbai from Delhi. Remember, he was in Delhi for that meeting on the presidential polls, the presidential candidate, and of course we're on the way to Mumbai. He'll meet the Chief Minister here once he arrives. So clearly the government is in damage control mode, trying to get and ensure that this doesn't result in a fall of the government. And also, several ministers now going into Varsha, the Chief Minister's official residence. But at the same time, this is a bigger crisis in the sense that what Eknath Shinde is attempting is a 2/3 split in the Sena, which means if he can convincingly and successfully pull that off, then the anti-defection laws provisions will not kick in, which means that effectively he will be the Sena, and that would be a massive crisis. So Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray is not only trying to save his government here, he's also trying to save his party.
For that to take place, for Eknath Shinde to say that he is the real Shiv Sena, what are the numbers he needs?
37 is the number he needs, and they're saying that they have close to 35, 36 is what they're claiming. Meanwhile, here also the MLAs who met were also here. Other ministers are also now going in. Ashok Chavan from the Congress has reached also, for this meeting. So this is, of course, now a meeting to discuss how to deal with this full-blown political crisis in Maharashtra.
The number of
will the MVA government survive? Will
the number of 35, where are they getting that? Because that would imply that perhaps, I don't know what, Congress MLAs have supported Eknath Shinde. They may not be physically present with him in Surat.
No, this is what the explanation, and this is the claim from the Eknath Shinde camp, is they have 35 or 36 or 37, close to 37 Shiv Sena MLAs. They're not saying Congress or NCP.
But not all of them are in Surat,
split
right?
Within the Sena. Not all of them are in Surat,
right.
Is also what they're saying. But this, the chief minister's meeting here also claimed about 30 to 35. So it's a case of claims and counterclaims. And here they said that not everyone was present because they couldn't come. So who's going to vote which way and with which camp is still unknown. And this is really anyone's guess, because
but
no
what
one
about
really
other
knows
members
now
of the alliance?
who's with whom.